In the last episode, after buying a hurricane-damaged sailboat from Facebook, I'd spent 447 days trapped in a dodgy boatyard and done 2 trips around the world trying to get her out. And finally, I'd been given promises I could leave. I'd assembled a small team to help. Andy, the super fantastic South African, whose main job was to coach me and make sure I didn't do anything stupid, which based on recent history was a full-time role. And Calvin, the local engineer, to help get her running. I'd attempted the fiberglass repair on her side, which took a bit longer than it probably should have, mainly because I didn't actually know what I was doing, and while inspecting the keel, I'd noticed more corrosion and turned to you legends for advice. Because if there's one thing I trust more than my own judgment at this point, it's a bunch of strangers on the internet. I only had a couple of days left to fix what I could and get her out of there, as Andy had to be somewhere else. But there was absolutely no way I was getting trapped in this dodgy boatyard again. But the clock was ticking and something had to give. Welcome back to...
What the hell am I doing? I don't even know what I'm doing. Bought a sailboat sitting on its side that a hurricane tried to ruin. What the hell am I doing? Don't know starboard, can't leave port, and got myself caught in a roar. This feels just like self-abusing. What the hell am I doing?
On day 448, the keel took priority. After chipping away at the loose sealant and paint around the keel join, the metal at the top of the keel started to show itself. Now, I'm new at this, but even I know that when metal starts appearing where it probably shouldn't be, that's usually not a great sign. That's one of those moments where you sort of stop, stare at it for a bit, and then look around hoping someone more qualified magically appears. Corrosion isn't one of those things that just sits there politely either. It creeps, it spreads, it gets under coatings, it does its thing where you can't see it. And while the keel bolts inside the bilges look pristine, like suspiciously good, there's a section where they meet the keel that you just can't see. And that's the bit that your brain decides to focus on right as you're trying to fall asleep. To make things more interesting, I'm pretty certain I'd found evidence that the keel had been off once before, and maybe even signs of a previous repair in the fiberglass. I'd pointed out loose strands in the last episode, and knowing that this boat lived in St. Martin through a Category 5 hurricane, it wouldn't exactly be shocking. So now I'm standing there thinking, is this old damage? Is this a repair? Is this something new? Or is this just the universe continuing to test how badly I want to go sailing? Either way, by this stage I'm about 99% certain I'll be dropping the keel properly at some point in the near future, because safety matters, and so does sleeping. And I kind of like being alive. The corrosion definitely looked worse than when I first saw her 7 months ago, which made me wonder if the keel joint had moved enough to crack the barrier coat and expose the metal, which is exactly the kind of thought you want when you're about to put the boat in the water. Now, as you all know, I'm new at this, so I did what any highly trained professional would do. I asked YouTube, and to be fair, you legends came through. The general consensus was clear. Clean it, treat it, barrier coat it, and maybe some 5200, anti-foul it, and get the hell out of there. Which conveniently was already my favourite plan. I wasn't planning on a restoration, I was planning on escape. The plan was to get her in the water briefly and get her down to Spice Island in Grenada. If you see or hear anything I've missed in this video, hit me up in the comments. Although by the time you're watching this, I hope I'll be floating. And yeah, I know, I like to take a lighthearted approach to most of this, but this is one of those areas I'm not mucking around with.
This thing is going to get really hot. So, I've brought out some water. Let's see if this works.
A few moments later.
Well, that's the first bit of it. That actually looks like it's working quite well. The only problem is now, is that in the car accident, my right shoulder was pretty badly smashed, so even holding my shoulder above my above shoulder height, even holding my arm above shoulder height is really difficult, let alone holding a grinder. I get about 5 or 10 seconds and I have to put it down again, so I don't even know if I'm going to last, and my left hand's just, it's crap. So maybe I'll just have to try left-handed, and I'm scared I'm going to make mistakes if I do though. But you can see the difference from there to there, the metal's like completely clean. It's working a treat. Okay, let's keep going. Got a lot more to do. And if you're not looking for 2 seconds in the Caribbean, this is what can happen. Here comes a storm. But I think I'm going to keep going because I'm under the boat, so wish me luck. Okay, well, that has come out really well. Better than I thought. There's some question marks. I mean, the seal looks like it's not broken, right? The questions I've got though are here. There's some, it looks like maybe it's only superficial paint cracking. At the back of the keel, obviously, where we had those spider cracks, I've cleaned up around there, but I really can't get into that corner because the wire wheel brush I've got is getting shorter and I can't get the angle in there, so I'm just going to hit it with 5200 and be done with it. I've got to get in the water, I'm behind time. I need to get this baby to Spice Island. Okay, here we are, and this could very well be my last day in this not so good boatyard. I have got to the stage where, so we had that sort of, it looked like a crack that was going around the keel and I didn't want to take any chances, so I cleaned it up a little bit with some thinners, put some 5200 right in the crack, and now I've gone over it with barrier coat, and hopefully that's going to be drying very soon, and I'll just go over it with a can of anti-fouling.
What the hell am I doing?
The next day I went back into the yard office for one last reassurance, because at this point my level of trust was somewhere between 0 and I'd rather trust a second-hand parachute. I asked them straight, if I pay the storage, I leave. They said yes. And this time I got it on camera, because apparently I am capable of learning.
So am I now free to leave this boatyard? You are. And you're letting me in the water?
Once I had that, I transferred the last few months' storage. Ransom, donation, whatever we're calling it now. They checked their accounts and then handed me a travel lift pass. I walked back to my boat feeling a bit like this.
Okay, I just left the office. I have my travel lift pass and we are out of here. I can't even tell you how relieved I am. I think you all know. All right, we'll believe it when we see it. Now, hopefully we don't sink. Well, boys and girls, guess what?
A little while later, I heard it. That low diesel rumble. I popped my head out of the companionway and there it was, the travel lift, 2 hours early. Of course it was, because after 449 days of delays, now we're running ahead of schedule. Perfect timing. But now, after everything that's happened, it was me that wasn't ready. We scrambled anyway. I got the fenders out while Andy did one last check of the through hulls, doing all the important things, while I focused on looking busy and mildly panicked. At this stage, anything else was officially a deal with it later problem, because if they were willing to lift the boat into the water, there was absolutely no chance I was slowing that process down. Then the yard workers came up to me and asked, "Where are the lifting points?" And that completely caught me off guard. What do you mean the lifting points? Apparently, when you own a 50-foot sailboat, you're expected to know exactly where to tell people to put the straps under. News to me. So now I'm crawling under the boat, trying to work it out. And luckily I remembered you could see faint marks from where it had been lifted before. Slightly cleaner bands where the anti-foul had rubbed. That was my best guess. So I pointed, with the confidence of a bloke who has absolutely no idea, but really hopes he looks like he does.
But luckily we could see that where the anti-foul had been rubbed off the last time, so I'm assuming they're the correct places. We'll see. If it breaks in half, then it's not the correct places.
As they strapped her up under the travel lift, I stayed pretty calm on the outside. but internally things were escalating quickly. I wasn't going to believe this was actually happening until my boat was in the water and well away from their clutches. And as she started to lift, that's when it really hit. Adrenaline. Heart rate through the roof. This was way more effective than Red Bull. Every possible thing that could go wrong started going through my head. Would the straps hold? Would the anti-foul be so powdery the boat just slip straight out? Would the hydraulics give up and drop the whole thing? Would something crack after sitting in the yard that long? Would the yard owner suddenly change his mind? And seriously, why is it called a boat slip? That feels less like a name and more like a warning. Meanwhile, for the first time anyone in the yard could remember, the Boatyard decided to start filming everything. Bad choice if they wanted me as the star of their new promotional video. They filmed the travel lift, they filmed my boat, they filmed me, I filmed them filming me, they filmed me Anyway, you get the idea. Maybe they wanted proof I left. Maybe they wanted to watch it back later and celebrate I'd gone.
Let's party.
This is pretty nerve-wracking. They're making me nervous filming it because I've never seen...
As the boat was lifted clear of her stands, nervous fear took over. Outwardly, I tried to act like I was okay.
I should rip that masking tape off. There's all the water coming out that I was aiming for in the bilge.
It's a strange sight to see your boat up in the air like that. So much weight. And two thin bands, only about 50 centimetres wide each, holding her up in the air. I walked all around the travel lift as she slowly made her way towards the slip.
Fireboat, they said. It'll be fun, they said. But I'm gonna have a heart attack. But I think I got my boat back. I really wanna leave this joint, but I don't know about lifting points. I think I got my boat back, but I'm gonna have a heart attack. 15 tons of boat swinging in the air. Operator smiling like he don't care. I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Hey Tess! Hey Tessie! All in a day's work for you, eh?
Andy was there and could see how nervous I was, and he subtly tried to reassure me.
Another splash, Drew, hopefully. It's always hopeful, you know.
I'm hoping for more of a splash and rather less of a crash.
That's already happened. It
Yeah,
happened in
well.
the hurricane.
Yeah, right. I've never seen...
What was interesting?
I'm actually thinking maybe I'll just shut up and talk over it later on because I always think about it better later. But my monologue's pretty crap. Stuttering and don't know what I'm talking about.
Are you nervous about it falling now? Is that why you're saying it doesn't end in a crash?
Yeah, well, why are they filming it? I've never seen them film another boat go in the water. Have you?
No. It's because you were telling them about legal action and stuff. So obviously they want to show that they did a good job, and then you're going to come back and say that they did something wrong.
That could be it. Geez, there's a lot of water coming out. There's all the water I paid for yesterday. At least we know the bilge pumps work.
You've got three fittings there. You have a water bag bubble.
No?
I'll be curious to know what the guy. Jason, when are you going to learn how to tie bowlers? Like, no, I'll never learn. Just tire whatever. Okay.
So I'm guessing he hasn't got his RYA
I don't think
coastal skippers or anything. I reckon I know enough to go for mine, but it's the knots. It's the knots that are holding me back.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't practiced my knots.
I was fucking levitating.
Yeah. I've watched all the YouTube channels where everyone talks about how nervy they get. Man, my heart's going a million miles an hour.
You can feel it, eh? These guys look like they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
It's a big machine as well.
Yeah. They don't know where second gear is though, I can tell you that much.
You know, you're gonna go slowly. Dude, they're carrying a big ass fucking boat. Yeah, so once you're in the water, what we'll do is we'll check for 2 hours.
Yep.
Just have a look at the, see if anything's leaking. And if it's like an immediate, like, oh fuck, there's a lot of water coming in. We'll ask him to put it back on the stand.
Yeah, okay.
If we don't see any water and it's fine, we'll leave it in for tonight, and then we'll check by the morning if there's any salty cold water, then we're like, maybe we have to do some troubleshooting.
Okay.
Sound okay?
Yep. I don't want it to sink, so yes, that sounds very okay.
We can do the same now.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen boats sitting there overnight, but then how do you get on board? Can they do that with the crane? Or they tie up? Oh yeah, they got tie up points, I see, yeah. That keel touching the water is going to be like, I can't believe it's happening, to be honest.
As she got closer to the slip, I started to calm down a little bit, and the feeling changed from nerves and fear to a little bit of happiness creeping in. Just as she was being lowered towards the water, I felt a wave of relief. Now maybe I could concentrate on other things, like how do I even drive a boat? Or is she going to sink tonight? And then, after 449 days, arguments, stress, delays, threats, 2 trips around the world, and strangely, 2 years to the day since the car accident that changed my life, my Beneteau 50 finally touched water. Right at that moment, to congratulate me on getting it done, JT appeared at the dock. And for a second, I forgot about how excited I was and instead got hit with a thud. I felt hugely guilty. I had been able to fight back against this yard's bullshit and was now getting my boat in the water. But at 80 years old, JT hadn't. He didn't have it in him. He left once, came back to fix a prop shaft and got trapped by the Boatyard. He refused to pay, they didn't move the boat. It got looted, stripped piece by piece, and because JT's boat was his home, he was now homeless and was staying with other cruisers on their boat while his boat was in the yard gradually getting looted of all its gear, until there was nothing left worth fighting for. So while I was standing there watching my boat about to go into the water, poor old JT standing there thinking about what might have been, but at the same time looking genuinely happy for me. JT needs help. So the next episode will include JT's story, and it'll also be the final word on the Boatyard, so you don't want to miss that episode, because despite legal threats from their lawyers, I'm not going to hold back anything. I've been waiting a long time to light the fuse on things that I wasn't willing to tell until now, but as you can understand, I really had to get my boat out of there first. As my boat was lowered towards the water, I was getting more confident. But when you hear JT's story, you'll understand why I wasn't counting my chickens until I was well away from this place.
What the hell am I doing?
I held the lines with some of the guys in the yard, and Andy jumped on board.
Nothing's trickling.
Nothing.
Together, we eased her away from the slip and up to the dock wall.
Cheers, man. Thanks, brother. Cheers. Thanks, Steve.
But still no celebration, because after everything, I wasn't counting anything as done until I was properly out of there. As Andy left me alone to go back to his boat and do some chores, I took a moment. I got a cold drink and went and sat on my sugar scoop with my feet in the water to enjoy my first ever view on water, a concrete dock wall. And that feeling, sitting there, I just couldn't help but feel relaxed. All of the anger I had at the boatyard just seemed to slip away, temporarily. It took a while to get here, but this was a big step towards a dream. And tonight, some happiness returned. But there was one thing missing. I just wish my dad could have seen it. Later on, I invited a few friends around for some beers. One was JT. There was also another 70-something Aussie named Mick. Then there was Mark, who they also tried to do over, but he had worked out what was going on a lot quicker than me and basically told the salvager not to touch his boat. On my first night on water, there was a quiet and uneasy feeling. It was almost too quiet, and I was a little on edge. Despite there being a security gate at the other side of the boatyard, this side was where anyone could enter the boatyard unchecked. Those mangroves were also where the thieves had entered the yard undetected night after night to strip and loot boats, something I touched upon in earlier episodes. In this part of the yard there was lots of hiding places in the mangroves, several places to enter, numerous escape tracks, and if you can believe it, not even an attempt at any sort of fence or security barrier along the whole northern perimeter of the boatyard skirting the mangroves and lagoon. It was essentially a free-for-all, and still is to this day. Those are also the same mangroves that gave cover to the thieves that stole the engines and sail drives and other equipment from Spirit Animal's catamaran after the hurricane, and that looted and stripped bare Adrian's Juneau 50. Numerous boats and things stolen which would have taken hours to remove and would have made a lot of noise in doing so, and likely needed more than one person to carry. And despite there being so many cases of it, nobody, as far as I'm aware, was ever caught, which led to a lot of rumours in the yard as to who was actually doing the thieving and why it was so easy for them. Those mangroves also came right up to this dock, so if anyone wanted to come up to my boat tonight, do something and escape, it wouldn't be hard. No cameras recording, no fences to jump, and plenty of places to hide and escape if security actually went over to that area. Because of that, and because of almost 12 months of me posting YouTube episodes about what this boatyard did to people, and getting no help from any authorities, not even a response, I really didn't feel like I was out of danger just yet. But my boat realistically needed to stay on the dock wall in case anything went wrong on its first night floating in 18 months. It was going to be a nervous night, keeping one eye on the bilges and the other on the mangroves.